Hello friends, today we are going to study Indian political thought, that's modern Indian political thought. As a part of it, we are studying the Renaissance thought, in which the great philosopher of 19th century, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, and his role in social reform movement, particularly the Brahma Samaj movement. In fact, in the last class, we have already discussed that Raja Ram Mohan Rai is considered as the father of Indian Renaissance. He has awakened the Indian society against the social evils, and he has carried out a mass awareness program against the irrational practices, blind faith, social evils, and caste divisions of Indian society. So 19th century marked a great social reform in which there are so many social reform samajas were formed. Among them, we have Brahma Samaj, Arya Samaj, Satyasodak Samaj, Prarthana Samaj, Divigyan Samaj. So these are the samajas of 19th century have virtually transformed the Indian society from the blind faiths and dogma to mass awareness and culture of awareness. So this is how social reform movement is started with the pioneering efforts of Raja Ram Mohan Rai. Raja Ram Mohan Rai is considered as the father of Indian social reform movement, and he has sown the seeds for the prospective social transformation of Indian society. That's why he is very often quoted as the father of Indian liberalism, father of Indian Renaissance, and father of the constitutional agitation. So 19th century, Raja Ram Mohan Rai started the Brahma Samaj movement, and he was the founder of Brahma Samaj. And Brahma Samaj was founded in 1828. As we all know, the Brahma Samaj was found as a historical necessity in the context of the prevailing social evils like untouchability, class divisions, social cleavages based on gender, tribe, caste, community, and other things. And there is the women's suppression like Parda system, Sati system, dowry system, child marriages, female infanticide. So these are some of the social evils that were prevailing in 19th century society. So as against these social evils and caste divisions and social divisions, Brahma Samaj was started in 1878. So the starting of Brahma Samaj or the launching of Brahma Samaj has a historical necessity, and that historical necessity was fulfilled by Raja Ram Mohan Rai by starting his Brahma Samaj in 1828. And Raja Ram Mohan Rai belonged to 19th century and was a pioneer of modern Indian political thought. He is relevant to Indian political thought. He is relevant to political thought and political science in so many ways. He has expressed his divergent views on colonialism, in support of colonialism, and in criticism to colonialism, was critical of the colonial practices like racial arrogance, suppression, suppressing the Indian press on various counts. And he was equally supporting the colonialism in matters of progressive legislation, launching of Western education system in India, and various other things. So he is both a political philosopher and a social philosopher. And his political ideas are concerned about, are centered around his views on colonialism, both positive views and negative views, and also his views on liberalism. In fact, he has cherished the values of modern societies like liberty, equality, justice, fraternity, unity and integrity, parliamentary democracy. He has cherished these political values, and as a Western educated middle class man, he has imbibed all the Western ideals and values, and he fought for those values and ideals in the Indian society. He demanded the Britishers to introduce these values in the Indian society. So he belongs to the first generation of Indian freedom fighters who was both fighting with the British and supporting with the British on many issues. So this is how he is more relevant to political thought. And moreover, he has led a socio-political movement called Brahma Samaj. As we all know that he has spearheaded the social reform movement in the 19th century. And he started Brahma Samaj, and Brahma Samaj subsequently has declared its objectives against the polytheistic religion and dogmatic practices of Indian society. And it is also unequivocally opposite to the caste division of society and untouchability, Parda system, Sati system, female infanticide, dowry system, and various other social evils. So the Brahma Samaj movement led by Raja Ram Mohan Rai is both a social movement and also political movement. As a social movement, it tried to bring awareness among the masses against the social evils. And as a political movement, it demanded the state to bring progressive legislation against the social evils. That's why Brahma Samaj movement is very relevant to political science as a socio-political movement. So Raja Ram Mohan Rai, by starting the Brahma Samaj movement and by declaring the objectives and action plan of Brahma Samaj movement, he has done a lot to the treasure of knowledge in modern Indian political thought. That's why he is a pioneer of modern Indian political thought. And Raja Ram Mohan Rai is the father of Indian Renaissance. In fact, he has brought a new culture into Indian society. That culture was in vogue in the ancient times and some centuries of medieval times. And that culture is the culture of inquiry, spirit of inquiry and scientific temper. The spirit of inquiry and scientific temper are part of Indian society in the ancient periods. That's why there are so many innovations, discoveries during ancient period. But in the medieval times, due to the religious dogmas and irrationalism, blind faiths, this rationalism is eclipsed. As a result, the Middle Ages are very often referred as Dark Ages. So modern political thought, particularly Raja Ram Mohan Rai and various other political thinkers, have brought again the ideas of scientific temper and spirit of inquiry into the academics. And they are also both theoreticians and social activists. So he is the father of Indian Renaissance, and he has brought the positivism into the Indian way of life and scientific approach against the blind faiths, ritualistic Hindu religion, and various other religious practices, religious dogmas, irrationalism. And he brought back the scientific temper and spirit of inquiry into the Indian way of life. That's why he has revived the culture of inquiry, the culture of science, the culture of scientific thinking, so culture of awareness. So that's why he is called as the father of Indian Renaissance. Raja Ram Mohan Rai has brought a new culture and transformed the society from culture of silence to culture of awareness. Raja Ram Mohan Rai appreciated the British rule in India for its progressive outlook and enactment. As we have already known, his position on colonialism. He has both opposed colonialism and also supported the colonialism. His support for colonialism on various grounds, like the British rule having progressive outlook, and it has introduced certain progressive legislations against sati, against untouchability, against underage marriages or child marriages, against the Parda system. So that's why he was very attracted to the progressive legislations and outlook of the British period. So he was supportive. He was supporting the British rule on this count. Parallelly, he was also opposing the British rule on the grounds of its repression, its racial arrogance, its a disparity between the British rule in England and British rule in India. So on these grounds, he was very critical of the colonial rule in India. So Raja Ram Mohan Rai appreciated British rule in India for its progressive outlook and enactment on the one hand. On the other hand, he was also very critical of British rule and colonialism in India for its racial arrogance, for its apathy towards economic problems of the people, for its negligence in bureaucracy, racial arrogance, and repressive practices, draconian laws that were passed by the British rulers. So he was very critical of British rule. So Raja Ram Mohan Rai appreciated the British rule in India for its progressive outlook and enactments. And Raja Ram Mohan Rai's philosophy is a conglomeration of political ideas, economic ideas, social ideas, religious ideas, and cultural ideas. So it's a conjunction. So we have to draw only political ideas from his philosophy, because he is both an activist and a theoretician. So as a theoretician, he has combined all the ideas and he has followed the interdisciplinary approach in which he has conglomerated the economic ideas, social ideas, religious ideas, political ideas, and cultural ideas. For example, he was writing letter to kings in council against the constitutional protest, against suppression of freedoms of press, against the suppression and repression in Indian society by Britishers. That's a political idea. And he supported liberty, equality, justice, fraternity, and various other values. So these are all the political values. And economically, he supported the British rule on the counts of modernization. He wanted the Britishers to launch modernization in India by introducing various industries on the Indian soil, particularly the textile industries, the jute industries, and various other industries. As we all know, Britishers, or England, is the workshop of all the world, and it was the first country to achieve the Industrial Revolution. So as a country that could achieve first Industrial Revolution, it is the responsibility of the Britishers, according to Raja Ram Mohan Rai, to transfer the technology of the industries to all the colonies that it is ruling. So that's why he wanted the colonial rulers to modernize the Indian economy by introducing new technologies and investing capital in modern industries. So these are all the economic ideas of Raja Ram Mohan Rai. And socially, he was opposite to the social evils, particularly of sati, dowry system, parda system, female infanticide, and various social evils. In fact, 19th century Indian society was plaguing with many social evils. The contemporary society of Raja Ram Mohan Rai was suffering from many social evils. And as a historical necessity, Raja Ram Mohan Rai came up and stood up to the history and occasion and started the Brahma Samaj movement against these evils, and with an aim to establish an ideal society with civilizational values. That's why he's a social philosopher. And he's also as well a religious philosopher. He has opposed polytheism and supported monotheism. He has opposed ritualism and idol worship in any form, in any religion. In fact, he was trained in Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity. And he could comprehend all the doctrines of various religions. And he was unequivocally rejecting all the dogmas of all religions. He is not very particular about Indian or Hindu religion exclusively. He has condemned the Islamic dogmas, Christian dogmas, dogmas in Buddhism and Jainism, as well the dogmas of Hinduism. That's why he is also a religious philosopher who showed a new path to Indian society with his Brahma Samaj movement and monotheism as against to polytheism and idol worship, ritualistic practices, and various other things. These are all his religious ideas. And likewise, he has also showed us certain cultural ideas. And he wanted the people to be culturally aware. And he wanted people to transform themselves from culture of silence to culture of awareness without having any blind faith or dogmas. And he wanted people to imbibe the spirit of inquiry and scientific temper into their day-to-day lives. That's why his cultural ideas are also very appealing to 19th century in particular, and to all the societies of any generation in general. That's why he is also a cultural philosopher. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy's philosophy is a conglomeration of political ideas, economic ideas, social ideas, religious ideas, and cultural ideas. As we are time and again telling, 19th century Indian civil society is filled with social divisions and social evils. Indian society is a very peculiar society with a diversified social order, where we find the Chaturvarna system in Hindu society, which is further divided into castes and subcastes. And this system of caste and divisions is not only just exclusively Hindu society. These cleavages are penetrated into Islam, Christianity, and other religions also as well. That's why 19th century society, particularly the Indian society, is filled with social divisions and social evils. So in this context, we'll be discussing about the role of Brahma Samaj and the role of Raja Ram Mohan Roy as a great social reformer. First of all, we'll be discussing the lesson plan. The lesson plan, first we'll discuss Raja Ram Mohan Roy's life, works, what are the books that are written by him, and what is the philosophical method, that's called the method of inquiry, and how he has theorized the Indian reality, that's called his philosophical method. After that, we'll be studying about his contemporary conditions in 19th century. And after that, we'll be also studying about the role of Raja Ram Mohan Roy in Brahma Samaj movement. And succeedingly, we'll also be studying about the objectives of Brahma Samaj. And Brahma Samaj is a socio-political movement. So this is how we have to center around our lesson on Brahma Samaj as a social political movement and role of Raja Ram Mohan Roy in Brahma Samaj movement. So lastly, we'll make a critical evaluation of the positive and negative points of the Brahma Samaj and role of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So this is the lesson plan. First of all, we should know about Raja Ram Mohan Roy's life and works. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was born on May 22nd, 1772 and died on September 27, 1833. So he belongs to the 18th century and 19th century. He has led a life of childhood and youth during 18th century, and as a philosopher, he led his life during 19th century. And he was also very proficient in various languages. In Bengal, Raja Ram Mohan Roy received good education and proficient in Sanskrit, Bengali, Persian, and in English languages. So he's a great man with multiple languages. He knows about multiple languages. That has given him an advantage of reading many scriptures of various religions like Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and various other religions. So he has received good education in Bengal, and he was proficient in Sanskrit, Bengali, Persian, and English languages. And he entered into civil service under East India Company as a Sarishtadar. So he was also an employee of Indian civil service, in particularly the East India Company. So before its abolition and before Queen's Proclamation of 1857. Before that, during early decades of 19th century, he entered into civil service under the East India Company as Sarishtadar. And Raja Ram Mohan Roy also wrote a good number of books. From these books, we can draw his political ideas and philosophical ideas. In fact, these books are the sources through which we can know Raja Ram Mohan Roy's views on various issues relating to political science. The first one is Petitions Against the Press Regulation to the King in Council. That's the first book. And secondly, he wrote a letter to Lord Amherst on English education. After that, he wrote a book in Persian language, Tahafut al-Muwahhidin. He was in support of monotheism, one God. That's called as monotheism. In fact, Indian society was having, and of course, even today, Indian society experiences worships of people to different gods. That's called as polytheism. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he opposed polytheism and he wanted people to have only one God. That's called as monotheism. And as part of monotheism, he has also asked the people to imbibe the practice of not having idol worship. He was opposite to idol worship. So this is described in Tahafut al-Muwahhidin. It's a Persian book. And after that, he has also written books on Vedanta Sutra, a tract on religious toleration, rights of Hindus over ancestral properties. So these are all various books of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. What is his method of inquiry? What is his philosophical method? His philosophical method is combined with historical method and scientific materialism. He drew parallels and he brought analogies from various incidents of history to support his arguments. And he justified his arguments in many a time, by drawing historical analogies of various incidents. And at the same time, he has also even applied scientific materialism as a philosophical method in all his works. In fact, scientific materialism is a method applied by one of the social contractualist philosopher, Thomas Hobbes, in 17th century. 17th century England philosopher Thomas Hobbes, in his great work Leviathan, he has applied the scientific materialistic method. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy also applied the historical method and combined with the scientific materialism. So these are the philosophical methods that he has adopted. Now let us discuss the contemporary conditions in Indian society in 19th century. During 19th century, as we all know, Indian society is plagued with social divisions and there is upper caste orthodoxy. In Indian society, the whole society is divided into Varna system, caste system, subcaste system. There are 4 Varnas in society like Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra Varnas. And these Varnas are again divided into castes, thousands of castes. And they are further divided into thousands of subcastes. So this is how there are social cleavages and social divisions in Indian society, in which the castes played a very significant role, and caste divisions are very glaring with upper caste, middle caste and lower castes. So upper caste used to have the orthodoxy, and middle caste and lower caste have to bear the brunt of the upper caste orthodoxy. Later, this orthodoxy has penetrated into all the castes. Even the lowest of the low caste also practice the orthodoxy or further lowest classes. So this is how the social divisions and orthodoxy were part of Indian society of 19th century. And secondly, there were social religious superstitions in Indian society, particularly polytheism, idol worship, ritualistic worship. So these are all the religious superstitions. Polytheism means worshipping many gods, not just one god, many gods. There is a popular belief that there are 3 crores of gods. Likewise, he was opposite to polytheism and he supported the monotheism, one god. And he was also in support of, he has opposed the idol worship, and he has also opposed the ritualistic practices in all the religions. He is not just confined to Hindu religion only in denying these or rejecting these idol worship or ritualistic worshipping or polytheism. He is unequivocally rejecting these superstitions in all the religions: Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Jainism, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism. So that's how religious superstitions were opposed by him. And Indian society in 19th century was also plagued with the social patterns of dominance. There is caste dominance, gender dominance, when bureaucracy was also dominating Indian society. These patterns of dominance have made the society trickle down, and the lower sections of the society were the victims of the dominance. The caste dominance always has led to economic exploitation in the Indian society. And likewise, there is patriarchal dominance in the shape of male domination in the society against women, and women were suppressed. The dignity and self-respect of women and lower classes were completely ignored. And likewise, the Indian bureaucracy of British times showed apathy and indifference towards the Indian people, and it has that racial superiority, racial arrogance. So that's how the caste domination, the gender discrimination, the bureaucratic apathy, these are all called as the patterns of dominance during 19th century. So Indian society in 19th century also has economic exploitation, excessive dependence on agriculture and traditional services, no modernization, no industrialization. The trade and commerce were also very negligent. So there was no comprehensive economic development as such. Nearly 85 to 90% of the population was dependent on agriculture, and remaining people are doing their traditional services. And these traditional services are also not based on monetary terms. They are based on a Jajmani system. That means the agricultural yield determines the value of the traditional services. So the payments, the exchange of services with agricultural products, kind of barter type of services, products, exchange was there. That has also led to economic exploitation. Besides this, the caste factor also played a role, and economic exploitation was very rampant in certain states like Bengal, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, and various other states. So economic exploitation, excessive dependence on agriculture and traditional services was a practice in 19th century Indian society. And besides these things, there were also social evils prevailing in Indian society during 19th century. One is Parda system. Parda system made the women particularly insecure, and they used to be private in all the time under a parda. And as likewise, there is sati system. So that means if a man dies, the woman has to fall on the pyre of his burial. Or this is a sati. And child marriages were there. There is no system of marriage with a matured age. That's called underage marriages. There was dowry system. There was a female infanticide. That means the girl childs were used to be killed by the families, particularly the upper caste families used to kill the girl child. That's called the female infanticide. So these are all the social evils that were there in the Indian society during 19th century. During this time, Brahma Samaj was started by Raja Ram Mohan Rai, and he has supported this. He started this as a social reform movement. He wanted to reform his society. He wanted to glorify his past. He wanted to glorify and appreciate the Indian greatness of ancient times and Vedic times. And he wanted to bring the society in a very scientific manner and rationalistic manner by opposing all the social evils. That's why he started Brahma Samaj movement in 1828. Till his death, he is very vehemently opposed to the social evils, and he was very active in his social reform movement, particularly the Brahma Samaj. After that, after his demise, the Devendranath Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore's father, took the reins of the Brahma Samaj movement. So Brahma Samaj movement has started social transformation of Indian society from the age-old social evils to new scientific and civilizational outlook of society. Brahma Samaj as a social movement was started in 1828 by Raja Ram Mohan Rai. In fact, it was called as a Brahma Samaj. Brahma means Lord. Samaj means society. Society of Lord Brahma. So he wanted to create a new social order. As Brahma is the creator of the world, Raja Ram Mohan Rai wanted to take the incarnation of Brahma, and he wanted to start a new society with down-to-earth transformation and complete and comprehensive transformation. That's why he titled his society as Brahma Samaj. It was started in 1828, and there are certain objectives to Brahma Samaj. The Brahma Samaj movement accepted the secular values. It wanted all the religions to be equally respected and equally guided, and no religion is inferior or no religion is superior. So that's why he visualized Indian society as a multicultural society where there is no dominant culture or there are no subordinate cultures. The subordinate cultures also have a right to existence. So he has realized the need to have subordinate cultures also. So numerically, Hinduism is a religious culture, is a dominant culture, and other religions like Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism are considered to be minority religions. So they may have their own cultures. So he wanted secular principles to be followed, and he wanted the state, particularly the British government, to accept all the religions equally, and he wanted the government to treat all the religions equally and give respect to all the religions equally. So that's why he accepted secular principles. And secondly, he denounced polytheism and idol worship. Brahma Samaj, as a social movement, denies the polytheism. Polytheism means having so many gods is called as polytheism. Poly means many. Theism means divine worship is called theism. So polytheism means worshipping many gods is called polytheism. And Brahma Samaj is against that, and Brahma Samaj wanted monotheism. Monotheism means only one God. So that's, and equally, it was against to idol worship. It denounced idol worship. So this is another important aspect. And thirdly, Brahma Samaj was against to caste restrictions. In fact, Indian caste restrictions do not allow people to have community dining, community interaction, community marriages. So these are all so many restrictions, but Brahma Samaj was opposite to these caste restrictions. And likewise, Brahma Samaj movement has opposed the social evils like sati, dowry, parda system, child marriages, polygamy, female infanticide. So these are all the social evils that were there in the Indian society, because people were illiterate, people are in the culture of silence, people do not challenge the structures of dominance or patterns of dominance. People have the habit of obedience, law obedience, community obedience, upper caste obedience. So make submission to upper caste outrage. So this is how Brahma Samaj movement was opposite to the social evils like sati, dowry system, parda system, child marriages, polygamy. Polygamy means a person marrying many wives. Same person having so many marriages is called as polygamy. And Brahma Samaj was opposite to that. And Brahma Samaj was insisting that there should be monogamy. Monogamy means only one marriage, one person, one marriage. That's called monogamy. And Brahma Samaj was also opposite to the female infanticide. Killing of girl child. Killing of girl child is called female infanticide. So this was also one of the objectives of Brahma Samaj. And no faith in any scripture as an authority. In fact, there are Vedas, Upanishads, Vedangas. Likewise, there are so many epics. So these are all the scriptures. Likewise, in Christianity, the Bible. In Islam, the Quran. So likewise, every religion has its own scriptures. So Brahma Samaj has no faith in these scriptures as an authority. That's an important object of Brahma Samaj. And Brahma Samaj was also opposing and rejecting dogma and superstitions of Indian society. Dogma means unscientific belief, blind faiths. That's called dogma, irrationality, and superstitions. So Brahma Samaj has rejected the dogma and superstitions. And it rejects the totalitarianism also. The totalitarianism of state, the totalitarianism of religion, the totalitarianism of community. So an individual should not be totally submissive to either state or society or community. So he should be autonomous. An individual has his own rights, liberty, equality, justice, fraternity, unity and integrity. So as opposite to the totalitarian tendencies, objective of Brahma Samaj was in support of liberalism. He wanted the liberty, equality, justice, fraternity and various other liberal values. So he rejected totalitarianism. That's also another important aspect. Now let us discuss Brahma Samaj is a socio-political movement. As I have told you in the beginning itself, Brahma Samaj is a very nice initiative from Raja Ram Mohan Rai, and he was very particular that Indian society should be transformed into new civilizational values by denouncing all the social evils and other orthodoxical practices that are in vogue of 19th century. So Brahma Samaj was started as a social and political movement. First of all, it wanted to bring mass awareness against social evils. It wanted to make the people alert against the social evils like sati, dowry system, child marriage, parda system, female infanticide. So these are various social evils. And the caste system also has a consequence of untouchability as a social evil. So he wanted to bring mass awareness against the social evils by educating the people and by bringing awareness among the people, and from drawing the people from culture of silence to culture of awareness. So this is called as mass awareness against the social evils. This is one thing. Secondly, the Brahma Samajas have led so many movements against the social evils, against each social evil. For example, they led a movement against underage marriages, the child marriages. So as a result of this movement, the Special Marriage Act of 1872 was formulated, and this law has enhanced the marriage age to 14 years. The age of consent was drawn, and the marriageable age was fixed by the British government as 14 years. So the movement against underage marriages resulted in Special Marriage Act 1872, which enhanced the marriage age to 14 years. This is a direct impact of Brahma Samaj movement. And thirdly, Brahma Samajas were opposite to female infanticide prevention movement. Girl child, killing of girl child. Killing of girl child is called as female infanticide. So Brahma Samaj is against to female infanticide. So as a result of the various efforts of Brahma Samaj movement, the female infanticide prevention was undertaken by the British government, and they have made an enactment. They have formulated an act, the Female Infanticide Prevention Act 1872. That was the result of the Brahma Samaj movement. The movement led by various activists like Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Devendranath Tagore, and others. So, as a result of this movement, the female infanticide prevention movement resulted in prevention of Female Infanticide Act in 1872. This is an important act that prevented the female infanticide. But the female infanticide is one of the gruesome social evils that Indian society was experiencing. In fact, many Rajput families, many families of the upper caste used to kill their girl children in hundreds and thousands in number. That's why the whole girl population was wiped out during 19th century in certain communities. So British government has noticed this, and Brahma Samaj has brought this social evil to the notice of the British government, and it led a movement. And that movement, under the banner of Honor Brahma Samaj, has alerted the Britishers against the social evil, and this movement has led to the formulation of Female Infanticide Prevention Act in 1872. That's really a great achievement for the Brahma Samaj movement. And likewise, the Brahma Samaj movement also emphasized on opposing sati. Sati was a practice in 19th century where certain castes and communities like Rajputs used to throw their women. When the husband dies, the wife was virtually thrown into the fire of her husband. So this kind of practice, like sati, and this practice was opposed by the Brahma Samaj movement. And in fact, Brahma Samaj movement led a great movement against sati, the practice of sati. And the British Governor General, Lord William Bentinck, has responded to this, and he has abolished this under Sati Regulation 1829. So Brahma Samaj movement, as a political movement and as a social movement, it tried to brought awareness among the people against the social evils. To that extent, it's a social movement, and it demanded the state to intervene and enact progressive legislation against the social evils. And to this extent, it's a political movement. That's why Brahma Samaj movement is very relevant to political science, to the study of social movements and political movements. And it wanted the British government to intervene into the Indian way of life by stopping such social evils like sati. And this has led to William Bentinck's Sati Regulation in 1829. So friends, these are the aspects of Brahma Samaj as a political movement. Now let us see Brahma Samaj as a social movement. It has brought mass awareness on women education. It wanted women to have their property rights, and it wanted women to be free and right to freedom of women. And it wanted women to be educated. It wanted women to be respectable with dignity and self-respect. And the Brahma Samaj movement appealed to the women folk to rise against the social evils and live with self-respect and dignity. So this is how it has brought to mass awareness on women education. And likewise, the women also need to have certain property rights. So the culture, the political participation, the economic dynamism, and social activism are part of the women's education movement by Brahma Samaj. So Brahma Samaj has brought a lot of awareness among the people, particularly the upper caste in the society, on the need for women education. This is another important aspect. Now let us critically evaluate the role of Brahma Samaj in the Indian society. In fact, there is a lot of criticism against the Brahma Samaj movement. Some people label it as an upper class movement, upper caste movement, upper class movement. And it only defined the role of women. It only fought against the problems of upper caste women like Parda system, dowry, sati. So these are the practices that were widely practiced by the upper caste women. So many people labeled the Brahma Samaj movement as an upper class movement or upper caste movement. That's one thing. And secondly, due to the colonial government's rejection of the social evils and its progressive outlook for certain enactments against the social evils, the Brahma Samaj movement was hobnobbing with the colonial government. That's the criticism. In fact, colonial government friendly movement. It's a government friendly movement. Some people even label it as a state sponsored movement. So it was in support of British colonial rule. It was, on the one hand, it was opposing the British racial arrogance, British suppression and oppression. On the other hand, it was considering the British rule in India as a divine blessing. It's a providence of God. So that's how it was colonial government friendly movement. Of course, nevertheless, the Brahma Samaj movement motivated many social movements in Indian soil, and it was a kind of pioneering effort. It made a pioneering effort in bringing the people from culture of silence to culture of awareness, and it has virtually transformed the Indian society from its religious dogmas, social evils, economic exploitation, political domination by certain vested interests and various other things. That's why Raja Ram Mohan Roy's Brahma Samaj movement is both a political movement and a social movement. And on one hand, it tried to reform the society. It wanted to bring awareness among the people against the social evils, and thereby it wanted to transform the thinking patterns of the people. It was opposite to dogma. It was a rationalist movement. It wanted people to rise above the thinking levels and imbibe the spirit of inquiry and scientific temper as part of their life. So to this extent, it's a positive movement. It's a very interesting movement. And it's also a political movement, as it wanted the state to intervene into the livelihood patterns of the people, and it wanted the state and government to intervene against the prevention of, against the social evils, and it wanted certain rigid legislations for preventing the social evils like sati, parda system, child marriages, female infanticide, dowry system, untouchability, and various other social evils. So that's how the Brahma Samaj movement of Raja Ram Mohan Roy is a socio-political movement. And Raja Ram Mohan Roy has pioneered the Indian social movements on Indian soil. And he is very often described as the father of Indian Renaissance, the father of Indian liberalism, the father of constitutional agitation. And he's a pioneer. He made a pioneering effort in both actively involving himself as a Brahma Samajist and Brahma Samaj movement, start launching the Brahma Samaj movement. And he was also critical of British rule. And he was also demanding the government to introduce certain progressive legislations against the social evils. That's why the Brahma Samaj movement is considered as part of political thought and political science, as it demanded the state and government to intervene into the livelihood patterns of the Indian society, and it demanded the government to ban or prohibit the social practices, social evils that were in vogue by Indians in the Indian society. So Brahma Samaj movement is a very dynamic movement that has brought mass awareness among the people against social evils in Indian society. Thank you, friends. Thank you.